Alright, hey, what up, homies? It's the Tominator. So, I've been seeing a lot of comments lately about Phil Heath's perfect score at the Mr. Olympia this year, and I wanted to talk about that for a sec. For the most part, you see a lot of Phil's supporters bringing it up in his defense, like, you say he's got a bubble gut? Oh yeah, well, homeboy also got a perfect score, so suck it, dog. It wasn't even close. Then, on the other side of the fence, you've got a lot of people discrediting it, saying this is just a testament to the bullshit judging. But I think most of us probably just want to know how the hell he was able to get a perfect score in the first place with a visibly bloated and distended midsection, right? Because even if you think the man won, I mean, you got to deduct some points for that gut, right? But before we get into all that, first off, I just want to briefly explain how the scoring system works in bodybuilding because it's not very transparent, so it's probably not exactly common knowledge for the average viewer. Hell, I didn't even know how it worked until around the time I created this channel and started looking into it. Because unlike other sports, they don't show you the scores. It's kind of baffling. They don't even mention it. It's like this black box you're not meant to look into. It just kind of happens in the background, and they treat it like it's none of your business for some reason. So you got to go online and look it up for yourself, unfortunately. And here's where to find the scores for the 2017 Mr. Olympia, by the way, in case you're interested. Just type in 2017 Mr. Olympia. It should be like the first result that pops up. And then click on that results tab over there on the left. They might even show you this on the main page now that the contest is over. But anyway, the fact that you have to go and seek out this information for yourself is honestly stupid and very unprofessional in my opinion. I mean, this should be displayed at the end of the show like a post-game scoreboard, like, you know, what they do in literally every single other sport on the planet. Now, I know, you might argue bodybuilding isn't really a sport, and okay, that's kind of true. It's more akin to a male beauty pageant, but still, if you're going to score these guys, then show us the damn numbers, alright? Don't try to hide it away as if nobody cares or it's none of our business, because I think most people do care, and they'd be interested to see the official scorecards. So here's the deal. Basically, it's kind of like golf, where the lower the score, the better. As I'm sure you all know, every competition is scored by a panel of judges. Usually at the Olympia, I think it's around 7 judges nowadays. And what they do is each judge individually ranks all the bodybuilders from first to last and puts that number next to the guy's name. So if Judge A thought Phil was the best, he'll put a 1 beside his name. If he thought Cedric was 10th, he'll put a 10 next to his name, and so on. Then to help balance out the extremes, they get rid of the worst score and the best score for each bodybuilder. So for example, if 5 judges thought Cedric was 10th, but the 6th judge had him in 3rd, and the 7th judge had him in 13th, those last 2 scores would be discarded. They do this for every bodybuilder so it's fair, so what you're left with is 5 scores from 5 different judges, okay? And these scores are then added up to get the final number for that round. So if Phil scored a 1 from all 7 judges, his final score for that round would be a 5, because remember, you're not counting 2 of the judges' scores. So basically, 5 is a perfect score for any given round, and the Mr. Olympia has 2 nights of judging, so that's 2 rounds, the Friday and the Saturday. So they repeat this process for the second night, and then add up the scores to get the total of 10 you see there. So it's actually a very simple system once you get the hang of it. In fact, I would argue it's too simple. I mean, it's way too oversimplified in my opinion because it introduces a ton of room for subjective political bias to creep in because, you know, these guys aren't being held accountable and they don't have to explain why they're ranking them as they do, right? So we have no idea of knowing what exactly the criteria is that they're using to judge these guys. I mean, we have the official criteria, but who knows how they're actually making their decisions, right? But I'm not going to get into all that here. Maybe in another video, because it has to be said, I'm not knocking the judges this year. I think they probably did make the right call at the end of the day, even if it wasn't a very popular decision. So the purpose of this video is strictly just to explain how Phil received a perfect score this time around. So based on that explanation of the judging system, hopefully it's clear now that receiving a perfect score doesn't mean that you're perfect. It doesn't even mean your physique was flawless or anything like that. So it's kind of a misleading term and a bit of a misnomer actually, because all it really means is that at least 5 judges thought you were the best. That's it. It's important to note that it doesn't tell us anything about how big the margin of victory was either, right? Like, maybe if they scored them percentage-wise, they would have ranked Phil a 91 and Big Ramy at a 90 and Bonac at an 89. That's a perfectly conceivable scenario. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's certainly possible, and the end result would have been the same. So that's how close this contest could have been, and still Phil would have attained a quote-unquote perfect score. So people who keep boasting about Phil's perfect score and throwing that around, you gotta realize it doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. It doesn't tell us if he ran away with it or barely scraped by. All it tells us is that the judges all agreed that he won, but it doesn't tell us by how much. So I think the most important thing to take away from all this is that Phil can earn a perfect score even with a bubble gut and still deserve it. There's nothing inherently contradictory in that. Because remember, perfect score doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't necessarily mean you blew away the competition either. Again, all it indicates is that most of the judges agreed you were the best overall, in spite of your flaws. So that's all for this one, guys. I just wanted to kind of clear the air here a bit and explain this whole perfect score business. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and maybe you even learned a thing or two. If so, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more. And until next time, I'm the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.